Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Polk County Board of Commissioners, April 22nd, 2022. Extra agenda on the back table. All commissioners are present. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First up, look for approval of minutes for April 19th.
So moved.
And second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. And department head update, Chef Mark Garten. Chef.
Does this work? Okay, sweet. Morning, commissioners. Just wanted to just kind of go over the year-end report that you guys have in front of you and that's on the screen. It just really talks about everything community-based that we do, and then also with patrol and corrections, and then just some high-level numbers of some of those stats. We have done a lot actually this last year. Obviously more than the year before, but it's kind of back to where we were in terms of the community engagement, whether it's National Night Out or whether it's why is it so super like laggy? So then, yeah, we had fishing with the deputy. We had our National Night Out, shopping with the sheriff, the toy drives, everything that we normally do. You know, there were a lot of community partners that were involved in this that help make all of these things successful. So it's really more of just a thank you to them to be able to allow us to help with these things. So we also did give out a couple citizen awards this last year. Am I? I'm not doing that with my left hand. There we go. So we had these three young men that jumped into the falls in Fall City to save a younger kid that had fallen and basically got knocked unconscious, fell into the water. These three kids jumped in immediately and grabbed him, got him up and held him there for medics. So we were able to honor them basically for their efforts, because they didn't have to do that, but it's something that we hope everyone would do. Inside the jail, our numbers are lower, you know, than in years past. There are some factors that create that shift that are kind of outside of our control. But the numbers are down in the jail, but the average length of stay is up. So typically, I mean, years past we're 14, 15 days average. Now we're at 25. That also has to do with during 2021, we were holding more serious crimes than, so those people get to stay in facilities longer just based on their charges. So that might seem strange to some, but that actually makes sense from the criminal justice point of view. We're in the jail, we're back open to having visitors, having programs, having basically everything that we were doing before. We have some measures still in place to be able to check for temperatures and all that stuff and questions that we ask people. Just we don't want to invite anything in there that we don't want in there. Virus, not people. But so yeah, so the inmates seem to be receptive to going to those new programs or the programs that are back open. On patrol, we just kind of outlined just the different things that occur from animal calls to murders and everywhere in between. And so we handle a wide variety of things, not just what sometimes people assume. So just giving people an inside kind of look at what it is. In terms of crime stats, I mean, there are a lot of categories some that aren't even listed here that are increases, but overall, I mean, the overall reported crimes down 2% from last year. Serious crimes, though, when you look at overall, the serious crimes are higher than years past, but our overall crimes are basically the same as years past. So there's a 140% increase in burgs to businesses. That's when you're dealing with small numbers. If you from 5 to 12, that's 140% increase. So if it was bigger numbers, obviously that's not what we want, but so sometimes there's those anomalies. DUIs are up as well, almost by 100%, a little over 90%. We did just receive an award too from the state just last week for DUI Enforcement Agency of the Year. That's the second time we've won that since 2016. And that's against all the other sheriff's offices in the state. There's one for police departments, one for sheriffs, and then one for OSP. So I'm honored and proud that the deputies are out doing what they do because they actually enjoy going out and finding DUI drivers. Not a lot of agencies do that. So it's a big deal. Calls for service are up a little bit, 6% from last year. Still down from pre-COVID, but the total cases are different. The total cases doesn't mean there's crimes occurring. We might get there and say, hey, it's not a crime. So that's why the numbers are actually going to be a little higher compared to the actual crimes or case reports generated. So arrests are up 26% from last year, from 2020. And pretty getting back to where it was pre-COVID. 911 calls are up by 17%. That's something that we don't obviously control at all. So the volume of calls coming in for service are up. Crashes are down compared to 2020. I can't say one specific thing that is the reason for that, but we did do a lot of enforcement, and there was 13 different grant cycles that we ran through for overtime that came from the state. To go out and do DUI enforcement, seatbelts, distracted driving, essentially. And so we did that throughout the year. We did 13 different little mini campaigns to go out and do that. So I'd like to think that that's part of it, but there's no way to prove or disprove that factor, except that we're doing the work and we're seeing results. So
don't you think that's possible, though, that overall traffic was down for 2020 or 2021? Based on work from home and
less than 2020. I mean,
it started in March of 2020, so
yeah,
COVID issue.
Yeah, so we'll see.
But again, nothing there that you can statistically point to about traffic.
Correct. Yeah. I highlighted one of our big cases, a cold case from 25 years ago. Cold case team, our detectives have worked on it over the years, and we finally got a break in terms of DNA, familial DNA matching, and we were able to track down this person who we had no idea who they were, who the person was. Was she killed? Was she, all this questions, and we ended up getting a confession from the alleged perpetrator. So we're also able to get Kathy Thomas, who was killed. She essentially reconnected with her family that the family didn't even know she was missing. And some didn't even know, had no idea about her. So this was able to fill in a lot of the gaps that the family had, which was kind of neat to see. Not something that we expected to see, but it was a good thing. Last year we had a significant marijuana growing issues outside and indoor. 2 cases, we took 15,000 plants. Those are outdoor grows. We also took down multiple properties that were indoor grows, about over 30,000 plants and such. So we're still having significant issues with these types of crimes. a lot of people don't necessarily see the value in enforcing and investigating these types of crimes, but there's a lot of ancillary things that come with this, human trafficking, forced labor, threats of violence, really any of those things that
Fire risk. Crappy electronic.
yeah, yeah. I mean, so there's a lot of just variables that go into these cases. And we did get a grant from the state to enforce above and beyond what we currently do for marijuana specific operations. We partnered with Yamhill County to, they have a detective on the team, on our team. We have a detective, and then initially that was the first grant cycle. So it just allowed for 2 bodies. And half of a quarter of a DA. I might be wrong on that. I think it's half, actually. I think it's half. So that's significant. It's allowed us to do what we need to do. There is currently another grant period for the same grant, but just kind of an extension of it that we're applying for more bodies and support personnel. We also have an analyst that started with us for the marijuana specific things through the state police and the Oregon National Guard. So I'm glad to have that partnership, because analysts are not police officers, but they find you all the evidence essentially. So that is something that we're happy. And it's just, he started about last month. So we'll see how that turns out. Like I already mentioned, the safety initiatives. Oops, I forgot to do that. We had 13 of them, and then also our computer forensics lab. So we had a detective who did this. He retired. He's contracted back for a short period of time to handle these cases, just the computer forensics or the cell phone forensic items. Until we get another person up and trained, which we're actively working on, so that we shouldn't have an issue. And we do this for the entire county, for all the agencies, not just us. So it's just something that we're able to get done where the smaller agencies don't always have the ability to. Our volunteer programs, our SALT unit last year in 2021, they volunteered a little over 4,000 hours. Which is, essentially two full-time employees if they were getting paid, but these are volunteers that come out and do things that help us focus on more important things, really, criminal investigations, that kind of thing, where they can run evidence for us. They can help come out, do crime scenes, traffic control on crashes. They do all of our fingerprinting for the most part. And so there's just a multitude of things that if we didn't have them, I would be coming to you guys and asking for extra help. So unfortunately, we're not in that position. So one thing that maybe not a lot of people know, but we have a chaplain program as well. We started that in 2020, maybe 2019, late 2019. We have 3 chaplains. They come every week, at least every week, into our office, sit down and talk with people, check in on people. It's not something that the deputies have to do, but they seem to be very, very welcoming of having chaplains come in on patrol, even over in the jail, talking to staff. They actually had, over 600 hours of coming in and talking to people in that chaplain role. And that's something that, officer wellness and that whole holistic type of approach is something that we have to do, and it's doing well, this program. So I'm appreciative of them. And most of them are chaplains with multiple different groups. I mean, so they do more than just us, but it's something that is good and needed. So our mobile crisis team, we took over both teams. There was 2, one with us, one with Salem PD. We are running both teams now out of my office. We're still responding to the city of Salem calls in West Salem. It's easier to maintain it and to manage that program within one office instead of 2 different ones. We had a pretty significant increase in calls for service, about 42% increase from 2021, or I'm sorry, from 2020 to 2021. I only suspect that that is going to continue with the upward trajectory that it currently has for a while. But they are very, very busy. It's always something we could use a little bit more of, but right now it's getting by and doing what it needs to be doing. All right, that was a super quick overview. Do you have any questions about any of this stuff or things that you might like to see in these reports that you didn't see? Anything like that? Or
I have a question. So back to the chaplain program,
Mhm.
And I have a pretty good familiarity with chaplain program from the fire service. So I'm guessing it's the same. So it's a voluntary process that, you know, people can refuse it if they choose.
100%. Yeah.
But specific to your crew, some of these incidents a lot of the incidents that they encounter, whether it's people who have just lost control and they have to find a way to get control of them, to fatal incidents. What's the protocol for counseling for those folks?
So,
And how many, and do you have a sense of how many encounters a year in that regard that your office would have?
I don't know if I can give you that number breakdown. I do know that deputies have free access if they choose to call one of them, talk to them. That's totally on them. It's not something we track per se of who's going to see who or whatever. That's not our business. Because we also have our peer support team that works. It's kind of more of the first line of defense, essentially, where there are specific people that are trained and also fall under state statute that gives them the confidentiality portion. And so we have that available to people if they need it. The chaplains are available. All they really have to do is call. And I know that happens on a regular basis, not because anything's specifically bad, but because of the relationships that our chaplains have built with their deputies, that is something that they have direct access to if they choose. Because it's not one size fits all. So if we have all these EAP, as well. So, I mean, there's all these different avenues, hopefully getting those people help if they need help to talk about things or just vent or, whatever it might be, even home stuff. This doesn't have to be office specific related. Most times I would venture to guess that there would be some office connection to it, even though there might be some off duty, issues that the person is trying to work through. But they can call them off duty when they're off too. So it's really about providing the wellness and just being open and accepting of we're human, and we got to survive this career. So.
There's some others, other supports for officers and people who work in the sheriff's office. Is there secular behavioral health support that are just part of our regular package? If chaplain wasn't, something that somebody wanted to choose, but they needed some other kinds of support.
Besides the chaplain, our peer support are other deputies. So that's really most of the time where there's in the jail as well and on patrol. So typically when a deputy is having an issue, the first it's not right or wrong. It's just half the time they would go find their fellow deputy and confide in him and talk to him. And that happens more than the chaplain program, but we don't have a specific person in behavioral health that we have access to, except the mobile crisis team. I know that those folks get talked to a lot just because they're working with them. And so that is something that happens as well.
They do have access to the EAP program as well. Yeah. Unfortunately, there's some EAP programs that do a really good job to specialize in what officers go through. Ours is not one of those.
No. So hence we're trying all these other things to have other avenues because it is not, EAP is I wouldn't say boilerplate, but it's meant for a certain thing. And it doesn't
Can you
always.
define EAP for the record so that those listening.
Employee assistance program, employers have to provide the EAP, which, you know, I don't even know all the different things. Counseling is one of them.
Yeah, how do I put this? To be fair, like for our officers, they have stuff available for all kinds of counseling that you can think of, be it from financial to marital to personal to family. You can actually use it for family as well. But it is, I think boilerplate's actually a pretty good word because
Like call on the phone and you can.
you call on a
the
phone
same
to,
person every time.
no, you get sent to a person.
You do.
You start with a phone call or a text message.
I mean, I've used EAP in the past, and it seems if I call and talk to somebody that I've never met, and they might have a different perception of what law enforcement actually is, and I have ended EAP visits because it's not worth, yeah. So that's why we have all these other things, but EAP does work for some people. I mean, that also works. So I don't care how they get that outlet. I just want them to get an outlet.
I have some other questions. During yesterday's homelessness meeting, thank you for sending one of your best. Sorry to that.
Don't let
Really enlightening actually to hear from that perspective on the homelessness crisis. But one fact that came out is that the ratio of DUIs they're saying an increase in narcotics versus alcohol.
Mhm.
So I think more than half now in some cases. I'm just curious, with that evolution, how has your profession adjusted to detecting and getting evidence for that? And I'm just curious how you guys have dealt with that.
So DUI investigations are the goal, regardless of what drug, alcohol, whatever it is. Alcohol is a drug, but regardless of what substance is, we look for impairment. So doesn't matter what it is, we look for impairment, and there's a standardized set of things that are nationally standardized that we do. We also have drug recognition experts, DREs, that is above and beyond just a normal DUI investigation. They are the ones that get called in after an arrest is made to assess the person. They do medical tests on them as well. And then they can, based on the impairment, what they're seeing in the interview, they can say it's like high likelihood that this person is on alcohol, marijuana, and meth, or whatever the circumstances might be. But on the street, it doesn't matter what substance you have. It's the same tests for the same thing. So
you could bring someone in if they're showing impairment. It's unidentified.
even an authorized prescription can cause a DUI as well. So it doesn't matter what substance is affecting you. If you're impaired, the tests work on the same all the way across the board. There are ones that are, if you suspect alcohol or suspect drug use, there are some specific ones for drugs that the guys can do on the field. But it starts with the same tests regardless of alcohol or drugs.
And then just on the data, I really appreciate you providing kind of pre-COVID to present. I'm curious if we could go back for a little further to look at broader, longer term trends.
I can just pull up previous ones of these that'll have.
Yeah, I think the question in everyone's mind is some of these increases in crime during the COVID period, is that a blip? Or is that, because we have a long trend of downward violent crime. Is that an anomaly? Is it a bump? I want to just kind of catch that long-term trend, but I'm just generally curious about it. So really appreciate it and appreciate the wide range of services and community involvement you all are involved with, down to Deputy Watson being able to move a beehive if necessary. It's pretty remarkable. So thanks.
He's a beekeeper, or I'm sure there's a real name for it.
Yeah.
Beekeeper.
Be professional. Be whisperer.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
The only other, you emailed me about West Salem areas.
Yeah.
So out of those 300 or so thefts, a little over 60 are just in that area.
Okay.
And that covers north of 22 and east of 99, that whole area. the biggest, which is still like about 100, is our District 3, which is Dallas, outside of Fall City, not specifically in Fall City, but all the way to the county line south. So that is our bigger district with the theft issue.
Okay, thank you.
Well, first off, thanks and congratulations on being recognized for DUI. I knew that was twice in 3 years,
2017, I think, was the last year. So
which is very cool. And all your work on the illegal grows and stuff and the success you've had, we all thank you very much. As far as staffing goes, where are you standing now? You've lost 4 to OSP. Have all 4 left now?
3 left to OSP. The 4th isn't going to OSP, is Yamhill County. So 4 are leaving and have left. We have multiple. We've learned that in the past we could do, get through the interview process, do a background on one person, and we have a good idea if that person's going to pass the background or not. Generally, that's how it worked. Now, it seems that more often than not, we're either finding significant issues in someone's background that we end up cutting them. And so we're basically taking as many as we can get and just stacking them up and just keep working on them so that if one washes out, we can instantly go right to the next one and start on that instead of having a big lag in between the hiring, just because of the time frame that it takes to hire someone. But we have 2 of our recruits that were hired in the beginning of, first quarter of 2021. They are already back. They're solo by themselves out on patrol. And we have 2 in the academy right now. So the other 2, we haven't hired for the 4 that we currently will have. We've hired 2. They're already in the academy. The other 2, we're going to finish their backgrounds and they'll start on patrol, work for as long as we can, so that once the other people get back from the academy, then we'll send them. It's just this big chess game of trying to get everything to work out right. So that's our goal.
So you're able to fill the positions. That's great.
So far, I mean, we, typically have a lot more applicants. We had 12, I think, this last 12 or 13. 5 showed up, 6 showed up to test, 5 passed, that's a high number. And so we took all of them and started backgrounds on them. So that doesn't happen very typically. It's half gets cut all the way down to the line. So, but
A full staff now, technically.
We have people allotted for every spot, just not everyone is currently working yet. So as long as their backgrounds pass out or pan out.
That's great news. Good job.
Stressful.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. You don't have anything?
I'd lots of offline things.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mark. Sheriff Guard, appreciate it very much. Please tell all your
Will do.
staff and patrol. Next is Purple Heart Ceremony and Proclamation. I am going to read the proclamation here, then we'll recess. We'll all move over to the Academy building where we'll have a ceremony and then we'll adjourn the meeting over there. But for the record, I'd like to read the proclamation. Before the Board of Commissioners for Polk County, Oregon, in the matter of proclaiming the recognition of Purple Heart recipients in Polk County as a Purple Heart County. Proclamation number 2202. Whereas the County of Polk in the state of Oregon has always supported the military veteran population. And whereas the Purple Heart is the oldest military decoration and is initially created as the badge of military merit by George Washington in 1782. And whereas the Purple Heart was the first American Service Award or decoration made available to all who serve and specifically awarded to members of the United States Armed Forces who have been wounded or paid the ultimate sacrifice in combat with a decorated enemy of the United States of America. And whereas the mission of the Military Order of the Purple Heart is to foster an environment of goodwill among combat wounded veteran members and their families, support legislative initiatives, and most importantly, make sure we never forget the high price of freedom by leaving their families and communities and placing themselves in harm's way for our county for the good of all. And whereas The contributions and sacrifices of our men and women from Polk County who served in the armed forces have been vital in maintaining the freedoms and way of life enjoyed by our citizens. And whereas Polk County is honored to become a Purple Heart County, and we support our veterans and appreciate the sacrifices our Purple Heart recipients have made in defending our freedoms. Now therefore, the Polk County Board of Commissioners do hereby proclaim the County of Polk is a Purple Heart County, and to encourage the citizens of Polk County to show their appreciation for the sacrifices our Purple Heart recipients have made in defending our freedoms, to acknowledge their courage and to show them the honor and support they have earned. Dated this 26th day of April, 2022 at Dallas, Oregon. So thank you. So now we will recess and we'll re-adjourn at the Academy Building.